The best healthcare is there in ways big and small. There when we most and least expect it. We may not see it, but we feel it. It lets us know we're not in this alone. Everyone deserves a healthcare partner who never quits. One who's there for what matters. United Healthcare. There for what matters.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back. We're back for another episode of the Financially Fit Podcast. I am your host, Andre Creighton. For those that are new to the podcast, welcome. I hope that you find something fruitful in our conversation today. To give you a little background on who I am, I'm a CFO at a local tech startup here in Minneapolis. My career spans over a decade being in the financial realm, from being a tax accountant to now transitioning into more of a finance CFO role now after about 10 years. So I have a very unique perspective over my professional experience. And while I'm not a financial advisor, I take the approach of giving you all some advice on the things you should do on your way to be financially fit. As I always say, much like, someone who wants to get fit for and get abs or get bigger biceps, or people that really want to work out, right? You have to train the same way from a financial standpoint. It doesn't happen overnight, but that consistency of doing the same things over and over, day after day, is what's going to help you get to being financially fit. So let's hop in. I always start my podcast by talking about my experiences, and I think that that's a good way for individuals to, one, get a little insight into my life. I think it helps us feel more connected, right? You're more connected with your podcaster, and I think it's a good way to also be able to let you all know some of the mistakes that I made, that hopefully you don't make those same mistakes, and then also take away some of my successes that I've had and some of the things that I've learned over time that have helped me on my journey to being financially fit. So today we're going to talk a little bit about and give you some tips and things that you should be doing before 2024. Yeah, that's right. We're at the end of the year, and this is the time where you should start thinking about 2024 and start doing some of that planning. When I think about my life, now being married and having an 18-month-old kid, my life looks a lot different than when I was single, 3-4 years ago, right? I didn't do a lot of planning when I was single, because it was just me. I didn't have anyone else to really worry about, right? So any decision that I made, it was either positively or negatively impacting just me. But now, when I make a decision, it impacts my wife, it impacts my son, and so I have to be very conscious of making decisions that are putting our family or setting our family up for success. So my wife and I, we are at a point right now where we're starting to revisit our budget. We're starting to think about holiday planning and some of those things, as Christmas is coming and we have a lot of kids in our immediate family. And then also, starting to think about what should we be doing to set ourselves up for tax time, right? Because that's right around the corner. So those are things that we're currently doing in our life as we think about 2024. But the first tip that I have for you today is create a holiday plan. We often see that, during Christmas time, you're buying tons of presents. You're making sure that the kids have the things that they're asking Santa for, right? And what we often find out is that sometimes we set ourselves up to not be successful financially because we're buying outside of our means, right? So, hopefully you started earlier in the year when you created that budget. If you go back to episodes 1 or 2, where we're talking about, setting a budget and increasing your assets and figuring out what you should be doing with your residual income, right? Hopefully you create a savings bucket that is for gifts or holiday funds, right? Me and my wife, we actually have a savings account that literally is for gifts. It says gifts. So, because what we found was there were times where, being a 33-year-old male, um, I'm at that stage of life where a lot of my friends are starting to get married, right? So you're going to these weddings and you're buying all these presents. And sometimes, you know, when you have 7, 8 weddings like I had about a year ago, in a year, you've just spent, if you're giving $100, $800 on wedding gifts, right? Yet alone, you still have birthdays for people and your loved ones in your family, Christmas, sometimes even Easter, people receive presents. So, me and my wife are very intentional coming into 2023 around thinking about how do we set ourselves up to be successful and understand where all of our dollars are going. So we created this gift fund. So we have about 4 different savings accounts. We have a gift fund, we have a travel fund, we have an emergency fund, and then we have a Creighton like rainy day fund, right? That's for like if my car breaks down or something. We had to get our driveway recently fixed because there's a little hole in our driveway, and that was costly, right? So really, all of the intentionality around us creating those 4 savings accounts were to understand where our dollars are going and be better prepared for those moments that we truly care about. So hopefully you have set up a holiday account. If you have not, I urge you as you go into this Christmas season to really be intentional about creating a list of the people that you want to buy presents for, allocating a dollar amount that's comfortable to each of those individuals, and sticking to that budget, right? Not spending outside of our means, because that is the one of the number one downfalls as you go into 2024. You don't want to go in with extra credit card debt, right? Because you were overspending. So that's super important. Maybe think about that as you're kind of doing your holiday shopping. Take advantage of any types of discounts. Hopefully, you took advantage of Black Friday. If you didn't, or Cyber Monday, if you didn't, there should be some other potential holiday deals coming around the corner. But I highly, highly suggest that you create a budget and stick to that budget so that you set yourself up to be for the opportunity to be financially fit. Number 2, for those that do have credit cards. So I have a couple of different credit cards and I use them in different ways. One of the credit cards I have is the Discover It card, which gives you cash back when you spend money on with the credit card, which is really nice. Um, I use that cash to be able to buy things like gifts or to be able to put money back into my checking account and reimburse myself in that way. Now, obviously, it's not dollar for dollar and you earn that over time, but it's really nice that some credit cards give you that ability to get some cash back. There are other credit cards that have various different rewards. And typically, what we find is most of those rewards start to expire at year end. So I encourage you, if you're a person that utilizes credit cards and you have different credit cards, whether it's flight credit cards or the Discover credit card, or maybe a Best Buy credit card, whatever it may be, I urge you to really take a look at those rewards that maybe you've built up and utilize those before they expire. That's something that a lot of people forget about at the end of the year that truly can be meaningful, especially when you're thinking about Christmas time and being able to purchase gifts for your family members. There could be some rewards that can help towards that. Number 3, we talked a little bit about this in prior episodes, in HSA, right? You may be at a point now where you have reached your deductible from a medical standpoint. And if you've reached your deductible, this is the time where you should definitely be scheduling your doctor's appointments or things that you've been holding off, whether that's dental, any of those kind of specialty things from a medical or health insurance standpoint. You should be using that because most times you won't have to pay anything because you've met your deductible. So that's a good way for you to save money. As you think about that at the end of the year, once it turns to January 1, those deductibles will reset, right? So they'll reset to zero, and you'll have to rebuild that up based on how many visits or prescriptions or things like that that you purchase. So right now is a great time to schedule those doctor appointments that you've been avoiding. If you haven't been to the eye doctor this year, it's a good time to go and get your eyes checked. You should be doing that annually. If you haven't gotten your physical done, your annual physical, you should be doing that on an annual basis just to make sure that you're good, right? Because at the end of the day, health is wealth. We talk a lot about wealth on this podcast, but if you're not healthy, you can't be wealthy. So I encourage you to make sure that you're setting those up and utilizing that opportunity that you have at the end of this year. I mentioned HSA a little bit, and your HSA is something where it doesn't go away, right? It doesn't expire. So if you do have HSA dollars that are carrying over, they will carry over. They don't expire. So you can rest assured knowing that you'll still have that money in there for 2024. If you do have potential medical bills that you have paid for out of pocket, with after tax dollars for whatever reason, and you happen to have an HSA and you forgot about it, or you thought, or maybe you didn't have enough money in there, you can reimburse yourself for that now, before the end of the year. So make sure you're doing that. It does have to be used for medical expenses. So make sure that you're using that money for medical expenses. If you do happen to pull it out for emergency or something like that that's outside of medical expenses, you can do so, but there is a penalty where you will have to pay tax on those because the money went in pre-tax, where you weren't taxed on those contributions. So contrarily, the other point around that is for those that have a flexible spending account, those do expire. So flexible spending accounts typically are used for medical or dependent care, are the typical things that they're used for. Those do expire. So if you have money in a flexible spending account, you do need to use those up before the end of the year. Most of the times, well, not most of the times, flexible spending accounts can only be utilized through employers. Unlike HSAs, you can go and find a HSA with a local bank or another third party. But those flexible spending accounts, depending on what your employer's policy is, you do need to use those by the end of the year. At times, we do see that employers may have a policy where there is a grace period, but you will need to refer to your employer's policy to make sure that you understand what that grace period is and whether or not you should be pulling that money out as soon as possible as we approach year end here. I'm not going to talk a lot about taxes, but I do want to talk about if you are looking to reduce your tax liability that will occur by April 15th. I encourage you to contribute to a charity here before before year end. If you have clothes or household goods that are just sitting around, I do encourage you to stop at your local Goodwill or a local charity that accepts those things and donate, because you do get a non-cash deduction for that, that can be beneficial on your tax return. Now, it won't be a lot of money, but every dollar counts, right? So I highly encourage you to think about those things as we're moving into the tax time, and some of the things that you can do before year end. And those do need to be made before year end in order to be deducted on your tax return in 2024. The last thing that I want to touch on is, I didn't have any big life changes this year. So last year I got married, and we had a kid. Before that, I had life insurance and other emergency documents, whether it was a will, things like that, that were set up. And my beneficiaries were my parents because I wasn't married yet. I didn't have a child. Once I got married and had a child, I changed my beneficiaries to my wife and my son. And, because I care so much about my parents and we have such a close relationship, if, something were to happen to me before my parents, I wanted to make sure they were set up. So I did allocate some dollars, life insurance wise, to my parents. But this is the perfect time to start reviewing those emergency documents, reviewing your beneficiaries and changing those overs before the year end. So hopefully you can take some time to do those things. And last but not least, make sure that you're starting to look at that budget. I'm not going to delve into all of the things that you should be thinking about from a budget standpoint. We've talked about that on some of the prior episodes, but I will say that this is the time of the year where you should really start having that conversation with your spouse about your budget. If you're single, really starting to think about, putting together some type of spreadsheet or things like that. So, with that being said, those are the tips for going into 2024. On the next episode, I plan to give you all some tips on different platforms and softwares that you can use. Some that are free, some that are paid, that you can use for budgeting, managing your investments, being able to have a one-stop shop for being able to review all of your spending expenses, your bill pay, investing, retirement accounts, really trying to understand the holistic view of how are you building your net worth and getting to a point where you have positive net worth if you don't, right? So definitely tune into this next episode. There's some really, really good tools out there. If you're a Mint user, which I have been in the past, obviously Mint is going away, they announced, and there are various platforms right now that can replace Mint. And there happens to be a lot of different deals right now within those platforms that they're providing for Mint users because they want to absorb that audience. So definitely tune into that next episode here. As I always say, the power is not in how much money you make. The power is in how much money you keep. Thank you so much for rocking with me, and I look forward to seeing you all again on our next podcast. Take care.
Ridership on Metro Transit is up. The number of folks taking buses, light rail, commuter trains has jumped by 21% over last year. This means more reliable, extended service and more connection for all of us riders. Have you noticed the expanded service on some key routes? Trips have been added to the Metro Orange line, and the frequency has improved to every 15 minutes. And the Metro A line operates every 10 minutes between noon and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Not only that, the bus route that operates in the core routes 2, 10, and 18 all have weekday service increased to every 10 minutes between noon and 6 p.m. All across the system, you're seeing service that is available earlier and later, and more service available on weekends. So come along for the ride on your Metro Transit.
It's not just another day in your life. Things are changing for the better. At Comcast, we see those changes, and we're thinking about how we use technology today to live, work, learn, and play. And we're building for the future now, so we're better prepared for the wants and needs of tomorrow. That's why Comcast is rolling out multi-gig internet speeds to more than 50 million homes and businesses before the end of 2025, making our already industry-leading network even faster, smarter, greener, and more reliable. Over the decades, Comcast has been your partner, working hard to serve your community, and will continue to be your partner. We're expanding our gigabits so you can enjoy the tiny bits that matter most.
This winter, the COVID-19 virus is still circulating in our community, and the best way to protect yourself and your family is still with the latest vaccine. They're safe and effective. Vaccinations are recommended for all Minnesotans 6 months of age and older, but there are still many reasons why the updated vaccine will protect you. Did you know that people who have been vaccinated and come down with COVID-19 are less likely to get very sick or need to be hospitalized? People who have been vaccinated are at significantly lower risk to come down with the ongoing health effects associated with long COVID, and chances of dying from COVID-19 are greatly reduced in people who have been vaccinated. Even if you have never been vaccinated, maybe you are ready to do it in the new year. It's never too late to protect yourself from COVID-19. Talk to your trusted healthcare provider about getting vaccinated, or search vaccines.gov to find a convenient location near you. That's vaccines.gov.
Unleash the power of smile for your team. Delta Dental of Minnesota offers coverage to fit your unique small business, leading to a better benefit package and a happier team. Visit deltadentalmn.org/small business.
When I walked across that stage at my high school graduation, I was excited, but confused about my next step. Then I walked through the doors at Doherty Family College. Doherty Family College is part of the University of St. Thomas. It's a 2-year college that lets you earn an associate's degree and puts you on a path to your bachelor's degree. Classes are small, so I have a personal relationship with professors committed to my success. Like the name says, they treat us like family. They call us scholars because they believe we could do anything we put our minds to. They set us up for excellence with free tutoring, and that's not the only thing that's free. Laptops, books, even breakfast and lunch, and bus fare. That's part of the package here at Doherty Family College. It's even free to apply. So do like I did. Go to dfc.stthomas.edu and set up a tour. We'd be excited to welcome you to our family here at Doherty Family College.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast-quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.